President-elect Donald Trump said Tuesday he plans to order very serious tariffs against Canada and Mexico and vowed to rechristen the Gulf of Mexico as the beautiful Gulf of America. Trump, 78, made the comments at a wide-ranging news conference at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida, as he prepares to return to the White House on January 20th. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring. That covers a lot of territory, the Gulf of America. What a beautiful name, and it's appropriate, Trump declared. Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them, and we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too, and the drugs that are coming through are at record numbers. Trump threatened 25% tariffs against Canada and Mexico shortly after winning the November 5th election, citing illegal immigration and illicit fentanyl imports. Some observers speculated that he was making the threat as a bargaining tactic, and the leaders of both countries quickly pledged to work with the incoming commander-in-chief. Trump also has jokingly suggested that Canada become the 51st state, while more seriously pressing for the U.S. to acquire Greenland from Denmark and suggesting the U.S. may need to reassert control of the Panama Canal Zone, topics he also revisited in his remarks. The president-elect clarified at one point that the U.S. would only use economic force to annex Canada before speaking rapturously about the potential benefits of a North American union. Canada and the U.S., that would really be something, Trump said. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Elsewhere in his comments, the incoming president complained that America's neighbor to the north is subsidized to the tune of about $200 billion a year, plus other things. They don't essentially have a military. They have a very small military. They rely on our military. It's all fine, but they got to pay for that. I have so many great friends, Trump went on. One of them is the great one, hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. I said, run for prime minister. You'll win. It'll take 2 seconds, the 45th president and 47th president-elect recounted. But he said, well, am I going to run for prime minister or governor? One of Trump's top allies in Congress, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican Georgia, quickly tweeted her approval of the Gulf of Mexico name change.